Hello and welcome to the very first discussion video here on Sparkplug Motorsport 2. Now, before we get into it, there are a few things that I need to clarify. Mainly, what is the purpose of this channel? Put simply, I'm just going to be airing out my feelings on a number of topics that I care about, but not quite things that I would put on the main channel. Some of these feelings are already on the main channel, but I will be making more refined versions here on Sparkplug Motorsport 2. There will be no scripting, so I'm going to stutter quite a bit more. Don't be surprised if I repeat anything that I say, because I tend to do that quite a bit. But, the very first episode, let's just talk about the thing that made Sparkplug Motorsport, that being F1 mobile games and the outlook heading into 2026. First off, the official games. Hey F1 Mobile Racing, how are you doing? Oh, you've been dead for the past 3 years. Hey F1 Clash, it's a manager game, I don't care about you. And Real Racing 3, how are you doing? Oh, you just shut down. We don't have a Formula E mobile game anymore. Shit. Well, that's the first swear on this channel. So yeah, it's a bad time to only be consuming official media, because the only game you have now is F1 Clash. And I'm not a big fan of it, mainly just because it's the F1 gacha game, honestly. I'm not a big fan of gacha games in general, because it just seems like gambling to me. I understand that there is a fan base for it, just know I'm not a part of it. So I'm not going to be talking about any of the official games, aside from saying rest in peace F1 Mobile Racing and rest in peace Real Racing 3. You made my childhood. You made me a Formula E fan. I hope there's a way that we can continue playing the content even after the servers are shut down in March, because that's when everything is gone. I think we should have known that something was up by December, by the start of this month, when we realised, hang on a sec, there's no new F1 content. Because that was really the only thing that was propping up Real Racing 3, the F1 content. So to not get the 2025 cars should have been the biggest red flag since Baku 2017. So then, you gotta look on the fan game aspects, and I only really immersed myself in 4. FX Racer, Aero Mobile, Monoposto, and FCR 2026 now? 2026? Which feels weird because I got into playing FCR in 2023, but I digress. You might be wondering why I'm not talking about Grand Velociter here, or Project Racing, or whatever it's called. For the latter, I just have no experience with it. With Grand Velociter, that is a Gran Turismo clone. So, yes, it does have the F2004 in it. It also features quite a lot of AI-generated imagery in the game. It also features a very funny texture where it shows a reversed Assetto Corsa logo. Now, you're not going to see this because I'm not planning on doing anything visual. So, I can't show you the evidence. But I'm just saying, you go to the Discord server, scroll for a bit in the gallery, and you'll find it. So, let's start off by talking about FX Racer. Bit of context, this is the oldest of the 4 games I'm going to talk about. This game dropped back in 2012, I believe. And, you know, for a while there was minimal development on it. When I first started playing it was in the pandemic, 2020. I was having quite a bit of fun with it, getting used to the handling, so I can play the game pretty well now. Where the game is right now is probably where it's going to be for the first part of 2026, because the developer at FNK Games, he is working on a NASCAR game to try and compete with stock car racing by mini arcades, or minicades, whatever it's called. I'm looking forward to that. I'm getting into oval racing these days, so if there's an IndyCar in there, if there's an IndyCar in his stock car racing game, I will play it. I will compare it to stock car racing, probably in a future Sparkplug Motorsport 2 podcast, I guess is what I'm going to call it. And it'll be very interesting to see how it performs. But as for FX Racer itself, well, it doesn't have the entire calendar, and it just kind of feels like with what FNK is doing right now, he is trying to add as much refinements to the game itself, when in reality, in my opinion, a lot of the fans would prefer additional content, because the game doesn't have the full 2025 calendar. Not all of the tracks are accurate. I mean, have you seen his rendition of Shanghai? It's completely different. And then you've got so many cars in that game, which on the one hand is a positive. FX Racer and stock car racing serve as the main places to get any IndyCar racing. On the other hand, you've got some fantasy cars that don't matter, but in reality, what you really have is a 2012 spec F1 car, a modified 2012 spec F1 car, a fantasy car, another fantasy car, 2018, and then you've got a 2022 F1 car, which is more based on the original renders of the 2022 cars. So FX Racer quite a ways behind on that front. Then you've got two versions of the IR05, the Speedway and the Road Course packages. You've got the same thing for like a 90s kart car. Like, I know it's not going to be very easy for an audio listener to understand what I mean by kart, so in a nutshell, Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford car from the 90s, when they weren't known as that. And he's also put a NASCAR in that game, which is okay. Don't get me wrong, it's cool to have, but kind of needless. I doubt many people are playing FX Racer for the NASCAR, especially considering how most of the tracks in the game are from F1. You've got Bathurst from V8 Supercars, so I guess that's another place to use NASCAR. And then you've got Atlanta Motor Speedway, or as it's known now, I guess, due to sponsors, Echo Park's Super Speedway, or something like that. And then you've got Darlington Raceway, which is like, these are certainly two tracks to choose. And the weird thing is, when he announced Atlanta, he said it was inspired by the Indy 500. No, that is very obviously Atlanta Motor Speedway. That is a D-shaped cookie cutter oval. That is not the low-banked rectangle of the Brickyard. That is the high-banked D of Atlanta, and you're fooling nobody. At least he actually said that Darlington is Darlington. So, in terms of 2026, if we get to see the 2026 cars, then don't expect to see any of the new modes seen there. I guess I should probably explain what we're going to see in 2026, because I don't know who's going to be listening to this. In 2026, F1's going to have a brand new regulations package. The engine, for starters, is going to go from mostly internal combustion unit dominated. It was like 80-20 between that and the electricity with the regular turbo hybrids, to now 55-45 in favor of the ICE, but effectively 50-50. There's going to be a lot less downforce with the new cars. They're going to be smaller, they're going to be lighter. The wheels are going to be smaller as well, which is going to reduce grip, could make the cars more nimble and give us some better racing, which would be fun to watch. Not as fun as remembering where the cars are in high drag mode for downforce and low drag mode for straight lines. That's what the active Aero is basically doing. The active Aero is replacing the DRS. However, its usage in any fast part of the track, it opens up the front and rear wings to allow for a reduction of drag, and it's a system that does this. It's a system that reduces drag. a drag reduction system, if you will. The drivers just don't activate this. Okay. Then, in terms of the electricity side of things, you've got recharge mode, where the car is regenning battery through braking, overtake mode, which is what I believe is what is going to be used most down the streets, and then boost mode, which is going to give the drivers full access to the electrical energy. Overtake is just, I guess, a button to use, like what we have with ERS today. I need to take a look at this further, obviously, but, you know, it's all there. I say this now because FX Racer, its implementation of DRS is just, you go down the straight, the game says DRS is activated, but you don't get to activate it yourself, so technically it already has active Aero in the game, because the driver doesn't activate active Aero. But there is no ERS in FX Racer. So the likelihood is we could get the 2026 cars next year in FX Racer, just don't expect to have any of the features of the 2026 cars. We're going to talk about Aero Mobile next, and CVI Games knocking it out of the park. The developer behind Aero Mobile, you'll notice that for these two, since they have formal names, I will be referring to them as the studio names. But for Monoposto and FCI, I will be referring to them as the creators' names because they don't have anything behind them. Anyway, Aero Mobile today is behind the times in terms of content. It has car models reflecting the start of the 2023 season. The in-game grid features pastiches of the 2020 grid. The track selection is a truncated version of the 2023 calendar. It has the bridge layout of Silverstone and the Dubai Autodrome instead of the Yas Marina circuit, which in my opinion is actually an upgrade, but people aren't fans of this. So why would someone prefer to play Aero Mobile? It's simple. It is a simulator. It is a £2 simulator for Formula 1. You can hook up a sim rig to it if you're playing on PC. It's got the full race weekend feature. It's got the most in-depth method of looking at Formula 1 racing. So Aero Mobile is very much up there. It's got great graphics as well. It looks really good. It sounds amazing as well. Like, realistic. You could show this to someone and say, this is F1 23. And if they hadn't played F1 23 and had a surface level knowledge of F1, they would go, oh yeah, that probably is F1 2023. And then you tell them it's a fan game. They'll be surprised. Of course, the guy behind CVI Games, he has industry experience, which is why it's objectively the best game out of the four. But still, I have my issues with it, and that's the driving. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how is it going to fare in 2026? We are still getting updates to the overall handling feel of Aero Mobile today. We're still getting that. There has been no track updates, no car updates since 2023, so I don't expect to see anything different on that front either. Mainly just because, well, we haven't gotten the side pod version of the Mercedes yet. I'm pretty sure he outsourced the 10 chassis, but still, I just think it would have been nice to have the new cars at this point. It would have been useful. Maybe I'm the only person who thinks like that. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. So, in a nutshell, Aero Mobile, I think it's going to continue developing that sim experience, but it's not going to be accurate to the 2026 regulations. I'm gonna save Monoposto to the end, because there is a lot I want to talk about Monoposto, because that game seriously surprised me at the start of the year. But another game that surprised me at the start of the year, FCR 2025 going into 2026. Now, Dan Andre gives the internal testers a lot of information about the game. And being an internal tester myself, there are a lot of things that I know that I don't think I can share just yet. So when they do get announced, they're going to be very cool. But it does mean that I've seen the work that's been done on the 2026 version so far. So let me just say right now, it's currently looking to be a two-horse race in terms of the 2026 regs, in terms of F1 mobile games. You're either going to be playing FCR 2025, or, FCR 2026, or Monoposto 2026. I don't see someone playing FX Racer or Aero Mobile with the 2026 regs. Of course, there's a likelihood that the developers of both of those games are hiding the 2026 regs from us, but I'm just saying, Dan and Marco are the only guys who have actually shown us anything, and therefore are the only guys where we can say for certain, yes, it's happening. And for FCR, it is happening wildly. I've seen the car, and I've seen some in-engine screenshots, and trust me when I say, I thought FCR 2025 was a pretty game. It looked too blue in my opinion, but aside from that, it was a very pretty game to look at. It was very shiny, I like that. I like the reflective textures. Yes, the AI needed work, and I'm sure that's going to happen, but like, this is the newest game out of the four. The first version of FCR came out in 2021, and for Dan, he started work on it because he was bored in the pandemic. So to see the rapid progress in just 5 years is inspiring, to be honest. And then you look at the other games and it's like, Monoposto was 2016, 2017, Aero Mobile was 2018, 2019, and FX Racer we know is 2012. So this is the only game that started development in this decade. The others all started in the 2010s, mid to late. And also for CVI, again, prior experience in the industry. So he had that head start on everybody. For FCR 2025 to look as good as it does is one thing. I feel like the handling each year has been creeping steadily closer to that point where, yes, it feels great to drive. I still think FCR 2025 is the worst of the four games in terms of the driving feel, because you can still feel it's based off of tank controls. It still feels like that, but we're slowly getting away from that, and I'd like to see that. And then you've got now setup options and fueling and tyre strategy in the game. Yes, coming into pit lane is quite jank, and a lot of things in FCR 2025 have been quite jank. I do believe that a lot of this will be ironed out. Still going to be quite jank. Let me be clear on that. If for Dan, in 5 years, the handling has improved to the point where it still feels like a tank, but a lot less than before, don't expect there to be no jank in FCR 2026. There's still going to be jank. It's got the easiest out-of-bounds trick in any game I've played. But still, I feel like there's gonna be a lot to be happy about in next year's game. But if I do open up a little more, then I will probably get in a bit of trouble. All I'm gonna say is UE5. Nothing else. And then Monoposto 2026. And this is what this entire podcast has been leading up to. You've probably been wondering why you've been seeing different renders of 2026 cars. And this is why. That first render, that behind shot, comes from the teaser that Marco Persky has given us for this game. And I am very excited. Of course, 2025 was quite possibly one of the biggest steps up I've ever seen one of these mobile games take. Bigger than the FX Racer 2022 update with the livery editor and all of that. This was bigger. Because we knew we were going to get a 2025 update. We thought we were going to get a 2024 update. We did not get that. And it was because Marco was struggling with burnout. And honestly, after this 2026 update, I hope Marco can take a bit of a break here. I hope he can. Because it's been getting a bit wild. Because with 2025, he managed not only to keep 2023 in the game, meaning that we've had the 2023 version since, like, August of 2023, all the way up to now, December 2025. That's over 2 years. That's 2.5 years, actually. It's amazing to keep something like that alive for that long. But I feel like the bigger thing is everything else surrounding it. First of all, the new car model for the 2025 version. It's bigger, it looks a lot more like the cars of today, and it's made by esteemed Instagram modeler Mick Designs. So shout out Mick Designs for making such a cool looking car this year. Are there things about this year's car that I'm not a big fan of? Yes, the halo design, not great in terms of how it's been done for the UV, but I'll ignore that. I'll look over that. And then also, the new menu is okay. I like that he's gotten rid of all of the AI images after someone pressured him into doing it. Just remember, kids, peer pressure is a good thing if it has a good cause. Okay, maybe that's a bit goaty, but who cares? This is my channel. But then you also see the issue of, in my opinion, this is an issue. I don't know if everyone agrees if this is an issue. The new original soundtrack for Monoposte 2025 does not meet up to the standard set by 2022's through 2024. That, of course, being Dreaming the Space by Marco Persky. I have the entire soundtrack for 2022 and 2025 up on my channel. You can go and look at that on the main channel. Fun facts about that, by the way, you cannot listen to Dreaming the Space on anywhere but Amazon Music. Apparently there was a dispute between Marco and the distributor, so that's bad news, but hey, you can still listen to it somewhere, I guess, because you can't listen to it in the 2024 version inside of Monoposte 2025. Big sad. Now, there were improvements made to the AI, which led to a lot less wrecks in some tracks, and in fact there was an update in like May that caused the AI to be a lot less crash happy. You can now start races behind the safety car. This is all still 2025 that I'm talking about, before we get to the speculation around 2026. You can start races behind the safety car. There's 10 extra tracks. You can look at the race finishes and points scored in the championship mode. You can now actually drive Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and every other track where qualifying would be done at night, in the nighttime. Now you've been able to do that since October, when the last update came. There are new rain effects. There's a new lighting system that I quite like. You've got new camera angles and everything to do with that. Yeah, sure, you don't get the freedom over the ERS that you get in both Aero Mobile and now FCR 2025. But still, for the average player, I feel like Monoposte 2025 gives you a very, very good experience. Sorry for the burp there. It had to happen at some point. So, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's NXTE? Honestly, I don't know. The render that we've been given tells me that the 2026 version is close to the alpha stages. The 2025 version was never given out to the regular beta testers, so I have no footage of versions 4.08 through to 4.40, I believe, was the release version of Monopoly 2025, so I don't know how it was to develop through all of that. What I can speculate on are some things that might make people happy or a bit angry. First of all, new tracks, we might be getting them. We might be getting some new tracks. I've heard rumors about the Daytona Roval. I would personally like to see the Daytona Oval. I would love to see ovals in Monoposto, but I know I've heard that Marco doesn't want to put it in, but come on, it'd be fun. Secondly, this is probably going to be quite bad for some people. The 2023 car model is likely to be retired next year. We're probably still going to have that back to prior game version feature in, which will send you back to 2025 now, if my sources are correct. But there will be no back to 2024 version. It's in the talks. This isn't official. This is all rumors. But it's likely that 2025 is the last time that we see Marco's original renders. It's just kind of sad, but, it had to happen at some point. But now I need to get on to that big elephant in the room. The 2026 car itself. Do I think we're going to get the manual override mode, the recharge, the overtake, the boost, all of that in the game? Maybe. I'm almost certain that we're going to get active Aero in the game because it's just DRS on the front wing as well, and the driver doesn't need to activate it. It's automatic. If he's got AI cars doing that, then he can do it with the player car, I'm sure. But then you've got the car model itself, and this is where the center of my speculation's been coming around, because I like looking at cars. I don't know how to design a car or anything like that, but with this behind angle, my biggest question is, how is the side pod going to look? How are the side pods going to look? Because it looks like the rear wing is finally where it should be on a real car, because last year the beam wing was separated from the diffuser, which is technically incorrect, but I might be digressing at this point. So, what do I think of the new reverse that we can see? Well, we can see channels coming up from very low in the car. You've got big shoulders meeting up to the exhaust. Can't really tell if we've got a shark fin there or not. Can't really tell that. But what we can say for almost certain is we're going to have those bathtub side pods that we had in the F175, and we are likely going to see something similar to what we had this season, this year with the Monoposto car. So that'll be interesting in terms of the actual side pod, top of the side pod. But then you've got the side of the side pod. And this is where most of the discussion has been. Are we going to have big side pods like we see with the Red Bull in 2025, like every Red Bull? Are we going to have... Well, we can't have the bathtub side pods like we saw with the F175 at this point. It is very visible. Is there a possibility that we're going to have those small side pods that come out from seemingly the floor? That is what most of the speculation is talking about. That is what most of it is saying about all of that. So, the question is, which one of these four games do I think is going to have the best 2026? This is my issue. Every time I try and say something cool, I screw up by saying the wrong year. which game do I think is going to have the best 2026? I think the start of 2026, like January. I'm going to look at this through months. I think January and most of February is going to go to FCR because that is the game that has the biggest media presence. It's the one that advertises itself the most. I think FCR is going to have a great January, a great February for building hype, and all of that is just going to get stopped the second Monoposto 2026 drops. Because Marco doesn't like doing those big media stuff. We saw the teaser for Monoposto 2025, right? And we've seen all of the prior trailers that he's done. He does not know how to market his game. But he doesn't need to market his game. Because it is the biggest of all of them. The Monoposto Discord server has almost 400,000 members as I record this. The FCR Discord doesn't even have 1,000. The Aero Mobile Discord, close to 21,000. And the FX Racer Discord has, I believe, close to 100,000. It's actually 83,000, 84,000. Monoposto is easily the biggest game. So you don't need a marketing campaign for something like this. As soon as you see the update button on the Play Store, you know it's come. It's here. We're gonna see something cool. And that's why I feel like the start of the year is gonna go to FCR. The rest of the year is gonna go to Monoposto. Aero Mobile, if CVI gets the 2026 regs in the game, and right by the time we reach August or July, then it's going to be in that fight with those two games. I don't think that the FCR release is going to eat into Monoposto's share too high. It's going to try and get some of it. I know for a fact FCR is going to grow once the 2026 regs come out in the game. But I'm almost certain Monoposto is going to be the game once more in 2026. Thanks for listening. If you like this, subscribe to the channel. I'll try and get some more discussion type videos out if people like this. Next one I kind of want to do is taking a look at the real life 2026 regulations, what's going on with those, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time then when I decide to yap a little more.